Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Koski of Funny. I'm back at it once again, kicking it for you and for yours. And, before I get into this, I gotta give my ancestors, the love and they give, much love to them because they made it to another solar year return. I'm pushing up in age, so, I'm grateful for that, getting wiser and smarter. And also, I'd like to thank you, the subscriber and the viewer, for watching. Now, this here comes from the History Channel, March 12, 2019. The Massive Overlooked Role of Female Slave Owners by Becky Little. It is estimated that 40% of the slave owners may have been white women. Most Americans know that George Washington owned enslaved people at his Mount Vernon home, but fewer probably know that it was his wife Martha who dramatically increased the slave population there. When they went in 1759, George may have owned around 18 people. Martha, one of the richest women in Virginia, owned 84. The high number of people Martha Washington owned is unusual, but the fact that she owned them is not. Stephanie E. Jones Rogers, a history professor at the University of California, Berkeley, is compiling data on just how many white women owned slaves in the U.S. in parts of the 1850 and 1860 census data she studied so far. White women make up about 40% of all slave owners. Slave-holding parents typically gave their daughters more enslaved people than land, said Jones Rogers, whose book, They Were Her Property, White Women as Slave Owners in the American South, came out in February 2019. What this means is that very identities of the white Southern women are tied to the actual or possible ownership of other people. White women were active and violent participants in the slave market. They bought, sold, managed, and sought the return of enslaved people, in whom they had invested economic interests. Owning a large number of enslaved people made a woman a better marriage prospect. Once married, white women fought in courts to preserve their legal ownership over enslaved people, as opposed to their husband ownership, and often won. For them, slavery was their freedom, Jones Rogers observed in her book. They Were Property has a lot of older scholarship. For example, previous scholars argue that most Southern women did not buy, sell, or inflict violence on enslaved people because this is considered improper for them. But Jones Rogers argued that white women were actually trained to participate from a very young age. Their exposure to the slave market was not something that began in adulthood. It began in their homes when they were little girls, sometimes infant, when they were given enslaved people as gifts, she said. Citing an interview with former enslaved people that the Works Department Administration, Work Progress Administration, a New Deal agency connected in the 1930s, Jones and Rogers showed that part of the white children's training in their plantation management involved beating enslaved people. It didn't matter whether the child was a small or large, one woman told the WPA. They always beat you till blood ran down. As adults, white women often tore black women away from their babies, so they could be nursed by the white mistress baby instead. To this end, white women placed thousands of advertisements in newspapers looking for enslaved wet nurses to feed their own children and create a huge market for enslaved black women who had recently given birth. Why did these white women want black women to nurse their children? One complained that she felt continuously having children and continuously nursing her children made her a slave to her children. That's an actual quote, Jerome Rogers says. Some black women reported in the WPA interviews that their mothers would give birth around the same time as their white mistress, suggesting their mistress were also orchestrating the sexual assault on enslaved women. There were incidents which formerly enslaved people did in fact to their mistress either sanction acts of sexual violence against them that were portrayed at the hands of white men, or they orchestrated instances of sexual violence between two enslaved people that they owned, in the hopes of producing children from those sexual violence, Jones Rogers said. White women also fought to maintain the wealth and the free labor that slavery provided through the Civil War. As Union troops made their way through the South freeing enslaved people, White women were moving slave people further from the soldiers' path. One woman, Martha Gibb, even took enslaved people to Texas to force them to work for her at gunpoint until 1866, a year after slavery's formal abolishment. After the Civil War, Southern white women fought to create slavery through exploitation work contracts. Some also wrote books portraying the institution of slavery as gentle and benign. The most famous being Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, a woman born 35 years after the rebellion. Yet, as Jones Rogers argued in her book, it was not only the white woman's ideological and sentimental connection to slavery that made them defend it. Scholar O'Hara would have been protecting her economic interests too. So there you have it. The white woman, as I said, they perpetuated the sexual stuff, the sexual violence, was historically accurate, and sanctioned sexual violence that was perpetrated by the hands of white men. So they also sanctioned it. They didn't mind that, they white men was going out there having sex with black women, you know what I'm saying? And orchestrated the sexual beings of the two other black people. You know. And it started off young, you know what I'm saying? Like I said before, it started off real very, very young. Like I said, they would beat the blood from it. It didn't matter whether the charge was large or small, one woman told the WPA. They always beat you till the blood ran down. And they started this at an early age. It's what they call part of white children training and plantation management, involved beating enslaved people and also raping them, doing things like that to show domination. And it showed them at a young, very, very young age, doing this stuff to black people. So this will also tell you the history about the things that we're going on through and how they still are today. If you ever watch the Hidden Colors movie, I think Hidden Colors 2, and Dr. Joy Gerroy come on there and says, they had a law for a white woman beating up, killing black children. Because, who babies were they really? You understand what I'm trying to say? So we got to really focus up and figure out that, this is ingrained from a young, early age. And it still is ingrained from a young, early age. It hasn't really stopped. So this is Koski of Fun Day saying peace. Hey, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Peace.